A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. And I understand that at this moment in time, when I'm making this video, people will not understand the meaning of my words. But I also understand that when the time comes, when the planets and the stars align, which, because nature is a reflection of the eternal logical idea, means when all the logical conditions are made interconnected, which makes the possible necessary, those who must understand the words will get them. So for now, I continue my introductory work, my preparatory work for the bringing about of Europe's self-consciousness, which at the same time will bring about the Holy Spirit, which is Christian. So it will bring about the unity of paganism and Christianity, which is a very Hegelian thing to do. But I am laying the intellectual foundations so that those in need, when the time comes, will find all the knowledge they need to actualize themselves and to reveal to themselves the divine and the gods and the goddesses which have always lived within them, but they just need to awaken their inner spark to let the inner light shine within themselves and to become living gods and living goddesses actualized living in the world. But in order for this moment of apotheosis to occur, there must be what seems at first a boring introductory work, and I must lay the foundations because, as they say, Rome was not built in one day. It was a long, a long and boring path to, and a painful and a demanding task to build what is great. It takes patience, it takes time, it takes investment, work. So yeah. I continue my exegesis of the book Hegel and the Hermetic Tradition, and I repeat what I said in my previous video. You should watch my videos about the Phenomenology and the playlist Hyperborea several times if necessary, so that you get the meaning of my words. And if I may give a piece of advice, don't look at the empirical individual talking, listen to the words and try to grasp the meaning, the logical meaning of the words. Don't pay attention to the puppet which is speaking the words. Listen to the mind. Hermeticism is a mixture of many occult, esoteric knowledge, including some which are connected with the pagan revival, namely mysticism, correspondences, secret systems of symbolism. We find this idea that nature is an emblem book, that there are symbols in nature, that there are correspondences, that there are connections within the different layers of being, the planets, the trees, the animals, the card reading, the rituals, that it is connected with the life of a pagan. So we find this in paganism as well as in Hermeticism and in Hegel's system also. Vitalism, paganism is the philosophy of to affirm life in its contradictory and self-negating aspects sometimes, but to say yes to life. It's a philosophy of affirming the value of life. And cosmic sympathies. Not only does man wish to know God, here I change the words, the Europeans, because as of now, reason is using me and using my passionate love for Europe to fulfill its own selfish ends. So I'm just a puppet of reason, but yeah, I will translate my own words. Not only does European pagans wish to know the gods and the goddesses, but the gods and the goddesses too, they desire to be known by the most glorious of their, I don't know if we might speak of a creation, because strictly speaking the gods and goddesses of the European pantheon are not creators, but they wish to be known. And uh, um, Athena, Thor, Odin, Freya, Aphrodite, and all the Apollo, they must not remain empty abstractions living in God knows where, we don't know how. They must become actualized in living individuals. You must become the self-consciousness of Freya or Thor or Odin, and you must realize the gods are living within me. It's not a constant state of mind, but you become one with the divine in your best, most inspired moments, and the best deeds that you've produced, the best thoughts that you've had, the best ideas that you've shared, the best songs or poems that you've written, they were manifestations of the divine within you. And this glimpse of an otherworldly presence within the self can become fully actual by a process of logical understanding, and that's what I am trying to achieve. I am not teaching you anything other than what you already know deep down, that the gods are living within you, that uh, you are a spirit walking in shapes, and the purpose is to remember your true identity and to become who you are, who you have always been. You have never ceased to be um, an aspect of the divine. You just need to remember and to be awakened. And on my intellectual path as an individual, I have encountered many European pagans who have helped me remind myself and remember my true essential spiritual nature. And now it's time for me to share the knowledge that they have given me, and to teach them and to enlighten them, and to reward them for the knowledge that they have given me. It's a mutual process, a reciprocal process. Then he says that the initiation path, what I call the phenomenology, it's the phenomenology of the European mind at first, but in truth, the European mind is just a particular aspect of the universal mind at work in the world. And the reason why the Europeans are the first to be awakened to spirituality is because Europe has encountered and is being confronted by a process of negation, and spirit can only become actual after having been negated. You will understand that later by studying Hegel. So the initiation process, which is, I repeat, it is not some otherworldly God knows where ritual. It is the very life of the West and of the whole world, but we will remain in the West. It is the political institutions, the demographic changes, the cultural changes, the political battles, the economic changes, all the cultural manifestations, all these movements which constitute the life of being. It is our life, it is our world, it is our society, it is the world in which we live. And this movement within society, we remain in the realm of objective spirit, law, economics, legislation, the judicial system, politics, history, and all that. They produce changes within subjective spirit, within the mind and the soul and the intellect. And this mutual reciprocal interaction between your subjective self and the objective world confronting you will lead you, at least some, at first, the select few, the Hyperboreans, the most enlightened, the most divinely inspired Europeans, to contemplate absolute spirit, which is revealed in the form of art, religion, and philosophy. And the most enlightened Europeans, they have already glimpsed a higher truth, which is their spiritual essence in art and religion. And that's why they are pagans, and that's why pagan is in a process of being reborn. But the only thing that they lack is a philosophy. They need a conceptual understanding of themselves and of their own process, which has led them to become pagans and to revive the old traditions. And only by philosophically understanding themselves and the world can they become fully cognizant, to fully recognize themselves in the art forms and the religions that they have unconsciously rejoined to find their true essence. So yeah, the initiation process through which the intuitive portion of the intellect is trained to see the reason inherent in the world. And I have tried with my limited cognitive abilities as an individual to show you the dialectical process, the process at work in the Western world with Islam and identity. They are reciprocally determining one another with the left and the right, with socialism and libertarianism, with anti-racism and white identity, with all these modes of consciousness. The most obvious example is that the West is dominated by what some people call cultural Marxism. And if you're watching this, you're watching a channel titled Cultural Hegelianism. And cultural Hegelianism is nothing other than the dialectical negation of cultural Marxism. I'm just trying to bring about the reversal of cultural Marxism, but I am a Hegelian and I understand that cultural Marxism must not be rejected in a one-sided fashion. It must be incorporated within my own system and must be aufgehoben, not simply negated. So cultural Marxism is a moment in the development of cultural Hegelianism, as not as an individual that you see as the process of becoming conscious of itself, of world reason and world spirit. And I am just a dialectical response to the modern intellectual conditions in the West. So I am a product of my environment, but now I want my environment to be a product of me, as someone said in a movie. So yeah, you, if you are watching this video, if you have gone through the steps which I depicted in the very broadest outline in my videos, you have been initiated. You have been, your entire life has consisted in revealing yourself to yourself. And I will say something important. Wherever there is a you, we are different in our personal history, our personal ideas, psychology, identities, wishes, desires. In this, we differ and we will never be the same. But in mind and spirit, when we abstract the individual element and when we elevate ourselves to the level of universality, which is the act of reason and thinking, then my mind as a universal logical determination and your mind, if you are on the same wavelength, as they say, if you are on the same conceptual understanding where I'm standing at, my mind and your mind can become one. And the personal aspects of your journey, of your spiritual and intellectual journey, they belong to you only. But the universal, what is true beyond your selfhood, your individual singular self, this universal belongs to me and belongs to everyone, and it belongs to the history of world spirit and European spirit in this particular case becoming conscious of itself. And I will just end by saying one word, with the one quote, which is very important. Hermetic initiation, which is Hegelian initiation, seems to fall into two parts, one dealing with self-knowledge, the other with knowledge of God or the divine. And the more you understand me as a mind, not as an empirical individual, the more you will understand your own path and your own individual selfhood and your own universal selfhood, your own spiritual self. And I end up with one quote: to really know one's self is to be able to give a complete speech about the conditions of one's being, and this involves speaking about God and his entire cosmos. So we are unconsciously producing the logos, which is the universal speech of God, and you are a moment in this process of self-revelation of God to himself. And if you understand that, you will find eternal life and eternal bliss. So yeah.